Action.
It's important for us to realize the significance of the 17th century in the history of French Canada, of what we now know as Quebec. Why does the foundation, literally laying the cornerstones of a Francophone North American population, why do they have their roots in the 1600s, the 17th century? Let's keep in mind what occurred. Of course, the Protestant Reformation takes place in the preceding century, in the 1500s, the 16th century, with Martin Luther, the German, with Jean Calvin, a Frenchman, but who establishes Geneva, also in German-speaking Switzerland with Ulrich Zwingli, and indeed in the British Isles, for example in Scotland with John Knox, or in England itself with those who would become the Puritans. As a result of the religious wars that took place in the 1600s on the continent, in Europe, and indeed the English Revolution that took place under Oliver Cromwell, the Roman Catholics experienced a unique time in their history, particularly in France. Indeed, the 1600s in France and throughout the Catholic world are referred to as the Catholic Reformation, or more accurately, a Catholic Renaissance, a Catholic renewal took place in reaction, in response to Protestantism, and so they purposely looked to the New World to establish the kingdom of God, undefiled and unsullied by heresy, by Protestantism, by all that had taken place in the previous century or in their own time. And in this vein, France sent missionaries to New France, to the New World, to establish the heaven on earth, to establish a religious utopia. And that is part of the impetus behind Samuel de Champlain in establishing in 1608 Quebec City, and then subsequently in 1642 with Jeanne Mance and de Maisonneuve establishing Montreal, Ville-Marie, the city of Mary. Not insignificantly, from the beginning, women would play a pivotal role in the establishment of New France in the 1600s, in this missionary age, so that these people sent from France by the King of France and the Church, the Roman Catholic Church, believed that they had opportunities in New France, what we later know as French Canada and Quebec, that they could make come true the promises of Catholicism, the truths of the Bible in the New World, in New France, in ways they could never do so in the Old World, on the European continent. And this explains the missionary ethos, the missionary principle that lies, in some respects, at the heart of the history of this part of the world, at least in the eyes of some historians, not least of course, and political figures. Take, for example, Henri Bourassa, Henry Bourassa, who became a major political figure and who establishes one of Canada's foremost francophone newspaper that continues to this day, Le Devoir. Henry Bourassa published a book entitled Le Canada Apostolique, Apostolic Canada, and he did so during World War I. In this book, he provocatively proposes a thesis that the role of French Canadian lies not in making war, but in making disciples, to serve as those who are at the call for the church militant, not for military reasons. And he sets out that it is contrary to the spirit of Christianity for Catholics, for Christians to participate in war. This served as the basis for civil disobedience and for French Canadians who would not answer the call for conscription during World War I, and in fact this led to riots and tragically even deaths in Quebec in the name, and this with a leader such as Henri Bourassa saying the Christians cannot make war, they must make missions, in his book Le Canada Apostolique. This served as the foundation for somebody who became one of the foremost historians of Canada, and indeed the Oxford Dictionary of Literature refers to Lionel Groulx because he was a major literary figure. And he published, at the end of his life, his major historiographical project entailed studying the missionary roots of the French Canadian people, and he did so in his 1962 major work based on primary sources, Le Canada Français Missionnaire. And in this historiography, in this historiographical monograph, he argues that the driving force behind the French Canadian people, culture, and language lies in mission, that the French Canadians are a missionary people. They're at the service of God and of bringing all peoples, the native peoples of North America and peoples abroad. He even chronicles French Canadian missionaries in Japan, in Asia. And this goes hand in hand with his view that the French Canadian people are in fact the Jews of North America. They are the Jews of the New World. They are God's chosen people and therefore must carry out God's destiny for them as the elect, as the chosen people, as the people of God. And the fact that they engage so much in missions, which he thoroughly documents, served as proof positive that they are a missionary people, they are God's people, they are the Jews of the New World, of North America, of this continent and of the country of Canada. In fact, in his early writings, in his own journal, he compared the French Canadians to the Levites of ancient Israel, that the French Canadians are a priestly people appointed by God. They are an apostolic nation.